segue to talk about the common symptoms, I think, associated with food allergies, because that's another area. A lot of these areas you'll find the theme is the same and that there's controversy about it. But there are certain definitions that we work with to apply to food allergies and the reactions associated with food allergy. All right, well, as far as the most common symptoms associated with food allergies, there are a few. And there's a general sort of progression that a lot of these symptoms follow. 80–90% of the time, the first symptom associated with a food allergy is going to be a change in the skin. So hives are far and away the most common initial symptom associated with food allergies. Generally speaking, the guidelines suggest that it can happen within seconds to minutes, all the way up until about 2 hours. And so that's why I want to talk to you more about what you've been dealing with. And on the little, one of the little handouts I gave you on the way back, there's a list of common myths associated with food allergies. And one of those myths is that people often will come in and say things like, you know, I ate something and then the next day I was having this or that symptom. And generally speaking, when that sort of reaction occurs, you can pretty quickly suggest that it's likely not a traditional food allergy. The reason that is again, it gets back to these antibodies, same old antibodies, and that since they are traveling around the blood, the reaction occurs very, very quickly. And you'll have patients that will come in and say, you know, I accidentally had you know, this or that dish that had a little peanut, and I knew it within 5 seconds. You know, my mouth began to burn, and that sort of thing. And then I started noticing the hives. So hives, again, though, are likely to be the number one thing that you'll see. In addition to that, there are other symptoms, and usually it then involves one of two other parts of the body. Well, because you're eating it, usually the hives will be somewhere on the mouth or face.
I get itching on my back, and I get on my ankle.
Yeah, I mean, it can occur anywhere. It can. I mean, it's usually, you know, because the exposure is usually in the mouth, so therefore usually it occurs here, but it can then spread anywhere. And generally, it really can't, it doesn't have to follow that rule. It can occur anywhere. Eczema can be a result of food allergies. And so we can definitely talk about that too. Eczema, you know, for those who don't know, largely it's a very itchy red rash associated with allergies, either environmental or food allergies. It's more common in young children, and it occurs in certain parts of the body. Again, a lot of this is interesting because it follows certain sort of patterns. But eczema in children is a little different than in adults. The eczema in children a lot of times will occur on the folds, so you'll see it in the elbows, where the folds are, sometimes behind the knees, and then the face. You'll see sometimes kids with the cheeks that sometimes have eczema. But again, it technically can be anywhere, much like the hives as I was talking about. But those are the sort of classic places that you'll find it.
What's the difference between the hives and the eczema? I mean, do they look different?
They look very different. So hives, generally, they're defined as moving around. That's the easiest way to differentiate them. So hives will show up quickly and they'll look like a welt. So it's a raised area of skin. Oftentimes it can be lighter than the person's skin tone, a little lighter with an area of redness surrounding it, typically. It itches terribly, like a mosquito bite.